Canada's federal health minister says he's working with the provinces to try and prevent the mass exportation of essential medications.
We don't want to prevent use, but we want to prevent abuse. And Minister Dix has pointed to a level of abuse that was outrageous.
Well, a Canadian doctor in Texas was suspended this week after importing large quantities of the diabetes drug Ozempic for American customers. Now, pharmacists in Canada say our drug supply could be at risk because of a loophole that allows imports like this to go unnoticed. Joining us from Ottawa this morning is Joelle Walker from the Canadian Pharmacists Association. Good morning.
Good morning.
While Ozempic is primarily a drug that is used to treat diabetes, we know this, it is also gaining in popularity for its association with weight loss. What flaws has this case exposed in our prescription drug management system?
Our concern has never been around personal importation. It's been really primarily focused on bulk exportation, and that is, the organized buying of medications for resale in the United States. Personal importation, however, hasn't ever really put our supply at risk. You can imagine people who are going across the border and who are buying a limited amount of supply for themselves to bring back home. But in this scenario, which is a little bit different, it sort of falls in between. And it was larger purchasing, I believe, on an individual basis, but for, through online sources. And because Ozempic has so much media attention, people are looking for that supply. And that in itself could have potentially caused some challenges with our own supply here in Canada.
How can data on prescription drug management then help to address the issue of mass U.S. buying of Canadian prescription drugs?
The challenge right now that we don't really know what is the problem from an online sales perspective. The BC case kind of highlighted that there could have been spikes for individual drugs. Their data suggests that the average amount of drugs sold to the U.S. is less than 1%, 0.4%, but that Ozempic was a huge spike. But across the country, we don't really know what's going on, and if there are some of those early signals that can help prevent that case from happening again. We don't know what that next case might be or what that next drug might be. And then with the online sale of a lot of products getting a lot of attention, we're all shopping online these days. Drugs is sort of the next frontier of maybe we need to pay some attention to how these drugs are being purchased. And that data is really critical for better understanding the problem, because whatever solution we put in place, we don't want to create additional barriers for either Canadians or Americans to get the medications that they need when they need. And there are some examples of people, who are traveling down to the States who might need that personal importation provision that's permissible right now. So it is a tricky situation, but without the data, it's hard to understand what the problem is and how to come up with those solutions. So hopefully the federal government is working with its provincial and territorial counterparts to look at that in future and better understand how we could maybe put a stop to those more challenging and large-scale purchases.
Is this a jurisdiction issue between the provincial and the federal government in terms of sharing data on prescription drug supplies?
Well, we've seen this is an interesting case, right? Because there was that intra-provincial dynamic between the Nova Scotia and BC, and so again, there's a lot of everything's national these days, and we want to make sure that those that data is available on a national basis so we can make those decisions. If it's if the case is different in Ontario from BC, we don't know that at this point, and I think that's why that national approach is really important.
Joelle Walker, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.